sometimes I'll just make a strong yarrow infusion and then just like spritz my face with it. Dandelion root is something that I drink almost every day. I make a coffee. Alternative, feeling sort of stagnancy or around my moon time, if I'm feeling symptoms of like headache or cramps or anything, I get on the dandelion tea. The skin is a reflection of what's going on inside. Do you want me to spill the tea?
Hello everyone, and welcome back to my facial features series here on YouTube, where I bring in a friend of mine or a special guest into my facial room and we talk about something they're incredibly passionate about while I give them a facial in my space. In today's episode number 7, I have my beautiful friend Krystina, who is such a wonderful herbalist here in Central Alberta. We get into her favorite herbs, we get into some skin herbs, bone broth, and also a little sneak peek for whoever stays at the end, something that her and I are working on collaborating together. She's so knowledgeable and information just oozes out of her. You can see her passion when it comes to herbs, and especially ones that aren't, the most traditional herbs, or maybe some roots or weeds that people don't typically like. She makes me just want to go home and make a beautiful infusion at home and drink some tea. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode and take some knowledge from it. I know I personally did, and let's get right into it. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my facial features episode number 7. Today I am here with Krystina, one of my dear friends and a beautiful herbalist, and we're going to talk all things herbs and the benefits of the herbs in skincare and some of her favorites. So welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a delight.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into the whole world of herbalism and plants and plant medicine?
Okay. Well, my background is in holistic nutrition, so I guess it sort of started there in the culinary world, and working one-on-one with nutrition clients led me to gardening and learning how to grow food and just seeing the disconnect between our food system and our wellness and with the land. So that led me on a journey to return to the soil and be able to teach my clients how to grow food. And then through that, I studied permaculture, and herbalism and plants were just a common thread throughout everything that I was doing, and just becoming more familiar with the plants that I was working with on a culinary basis, and then a medicinal basis as well. So it's really just kind of been full circle, and gardening, I think, has really been like the common practice for me in growing herbs, and foraging kind of came later.
Yes, I always see on your Instagram, especially when you were in BC, you were foraging a lot.
Yeah, there's lots growing and lots to learn and lots of new plants to meet.
Yes. This wasn't on my list of questions to ask, but since you brought it up, you mentioned permaculture, and I'm really into regenerative farming as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about the importance of that and like the connection to the land and your food, or even the herbs, and why it's so important?
Yeah, I mean, for me, working with clients as freshly 21, 22-year-old nutritionist, and really kind of noticing how all of my clients, including myself, like I was awakened so much to just how far we've come from nature and feeling a part of the natural world. And for me, that reconnection happened when I started actually planting seeds and like touching the soil and being barefoot in the garden and noticing weeds and where they were growing and what plants were growing together, and so much of the time there was a deep purpose for them to be growing together, and one plant might be fixing nitrogen in the soil and one plant growing nearby might require more nitrogen, and one might be a ground cover, and all of these beautiful like synergistic relationships that were happening within the garden and happen all the time in the wild. And I think participating in those relationships and slowing down and noticing what's growing and what weeds are popping up in the backyard and maybe what medicinal purposes those have really kind of brings us back into relationship with the land, and regenerative gardening or farming even on a bigger scale like allows us to be active in the process and to nurture our relationship while we nurture those relationships. So I'm like obsessed with composting. I have a little worm farm at home, and that's been really fun to just begin to notice like these things that maybe we've never really appreciated having such deep value. And then we can, I mean, like we just moved into a new place and we have these garden beds that were there and they're so dry, they're just like hydrophobic, and no matter how much I water them, the water just like finds a way to go off the sides.
Yeah.
And so I went into my worm bin and grabbed worms and filled up the garden bed with worms and compost, and I've just been like tending the soil so much because I'm like, I know that there's potential here and there's life that wants to come forth out of these sad little garden beds.
Yeah.
And it's my own little like regenerative practice of like building it up slowly and seeing what weeds like come up first, because that's the first sign of like what the soil needs. Like maybe it's compacted and so there's like thistle and dandelion coming up to put their deep tap roots down and aerate the soil. And yeah, it's been fun just to build it up from its little dry, sad state.
I love that. And I love that you said regenerative practice as well, because I do truly believe that it is a practice. Like, you're not just going to become regenerative overnight. It takes kind of like little baby steps to bring that nutrients back into the soil and kind of really build that regenerative like homestead or garden box, whatever it is. But I love that you called it a practice, because I definitely feel that way for sure.
There's so much patience required too, because so much of the time you just won't really see much change. And you just have to keep at it and just kind of honoring its own timing, and then you're like, oh wait, there's movement in the soil, there's buds now, there's life returning.
Yes. I feel like ever since the pandemic, more and more people have been like moving to acreages and like starting gardens, because I feel like a lot of people realized how important it is to, you know, grow your own food. What would you recommend for people like starting into herbalism, or how to get into herbalism? Do you have like recommendations of books or courses, or just like go into a garden or start a garden? What would you recommend?
I mean, like the very first step, I would say, probably is just to take a walk around where you live and notice what is growing there in abundance. Like it's probably dandelions. It's probably thistle and Saskatoons or whatever if you're in the prairies. But just like pay attention to what you see and then start to learn those plants, and don't try to take on too many. And it can be very overwhelming, and it's very exciting when you start working with plants. But it is like a lifelong, like you're a lifelong student. Like I will never feel like I'm an expert when it comes to plants. There's always so much to learn and relationships to deepen into when learning to work with plants. Whether that's like in making medicines or cooking or growing, it's just this like building of a relationship. And planting seeds is always it's always my go-to, and what I really love to do with people that are new to herbalism, or connecting with food in a different way. It's like see what you can grow in your backyard, or in a pot on your balcony or a community garden, and just start planting seeds and just get curious and playful. And it doesn't need to be perfect, and you don't need to be like a herbalist overnight, or even really know what you're doing. I think like the plants, the more you work with them, the more they show you how to work with them. And I mean, tea is a beautiful way to get started too, and working with one plant at a time and really getting to know that plant and how that plant works with you on a personal level, because they work differently with different people.
For sure. And resonates differently.
Yeah. And flower essences too.
Flower
essences. Yeah, I think any practice that gets you outside, touching plants, even just like observing them, drawing them, smelling them, just any sort of connection that you can form, is a beautiful way to start.
I've never tried flower essences, but I've heard they're like really gentle. But if you really like listen, they all like have so much wisdom, and like they're potent in like a very subtle way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So I was gonna say they can be very potent, but they are soft in how they work.
What would you say is your favorite flower essence that you've experienced?
Wild oat.
Ooh, you knew that really fast.
Yeah. So when I first started Rewild Kitchen, and I didn't know which direction really to take it in, whether I wanted to do more products or consulting or cook at retreats, or all of the things that I inevitably ended up doing anyway. But I didn't know where to start, and I came across wild oat, which is one that really kind of helps one find direction and choose a path. And I feel like working with wild oat really kind of pushed me into actually starting. And it helped kind of guide. I did kind of do a few different things with Rewild Kitchen, and I continue to, because I'm a manifesting generator and I love doing everything.
All the ideas.
I gotta do it all. Yeah, but that's one that I've worked with the most, and I do feel like it was quite powerful.
I have to give that a go. I know you said that about your favorite flower essence already, but what would you say are your 3 favorite herbs, or maybe some of the most common ones you use, however you want to go about that?
That's a good question. Someone just asked me this on Instagram yesterday, and I was like, oh no, like how am I gonna
Don't make
answer
me
this?
choose.
I would say right now, marigold is just one of my absolute favorites. I always grew up with marigolds all over the garden. My grandma always had a big garden as well, and spent a lot of time. She always had marigolds. My mom is a florist, so she loves her marigolds, and it's one that I work with a lot in teas and in salves, and I love making oils, body oils with it. Marigold. Yarrow is another love of mine. Just beautiful wound healer and amazing for the skin too. Sometimes I'll just make a strong yarrow infusion and then just like spritz my face with it. It's so lovely. And dandelion. I love working with dandelion. Dandelion root is something that I drink almost every day. Make a coffee alternative dandelion root. I've worked with dandelion root for a long time. I love to eat the flowers and the leaves. I've been saving the seeds the last couple of summers. So when the dandelions go to seed, I'll go and collect the puffs, and I will remove the seed heads and then use it to make crackers or seasonings. And yeah, it's been fun because so many people are haters
A lot of
dandelions, and I'm like, what if we can do something with the seeds that just spark curiosity and playfulness and honor the dandelion.
I love that. Do you just like pick them out of your backyard or grow them or get them specifically from somewheres?
Usually I'll pick it out of the yard or out of field or somewhere that I know hasn't been sprayed.
Yes.
That you have to be definitely careful about with dandelion. I avoid like dog parks and roadsides and things. But yeah, if I know for sure it's organic, then I will pick it from wherever that may be.
I've tried the like dandelion root like replacement coffee, and I actually really, really love it. It's like a really nice dark, I feel like very grounding herb.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and roots are a really beautiful way, like if you're in your head a lot, or if you feel sort of anxiety or like that sort of flightiness. Roots have a downward energy, they pull you downward. So I love to work with roots. Dandelion coffee is just the best.
It is.
The best. It's really beautiful for liver support too. So if I'm ever feeling sort of stagnancy or around my moon time, if I'm feeling symptoms of like headache or cramps or anything, I get on the dandelion tea and that offers some soothing.
I love that. I have to remember that for next time I'm on my moon cycle. Is there like a specific way you like to make your dandelion tea?
I will make a decoction, so I will usually blend it with some other herbs like chicory and burdock. Have a nice little root decoction. So I will simmer it in spring water.
Oh, I love that.
Let it simmer for, I mean, it kind of depends on how I feel.
Yeah.
How much time I have, but yeah, about 20 minutes or so. Sometimes longer if I want a deeper experience.
because this is a skincare channel, I would love for your opinion about the best herbs for your skin.
I love marshmallow root, and I drink that as a tea, and it is just so calming and soothing, beautiful for the gut. And the skin is a reflection of what's going on inside, so I love to support myself with really nourishing herbs for the gut and the liver and the detox organs. I love dandelion root for the liver. I love cleavers as a lymphatic support, and I like to drink fresh cleavers in water. Marigold. Yeah, the OGs. I love to make marigold oil, and I use that on my face.
Beautiful.
Just anything really soothing. Chamomile. I love drinking chamomile tea for my skin. Nettles as a daily tonic is really beautiful. Mineral rich. Delicious green drink. I would say that those are my top ones for skin. Yarrow. I forget yarrow.
And what does chamomile do for the skin?
It's just beautifully calming, like gentle, lovely herb. Anything that's like inflamed or tense within the body and just requires that sort of nurturing, sweet support. I find chamomile is just so beautiful for that. Also helps with quality of sleep, which we know is very restorative for the skin as well.
Yes. Everything is all connected.
Yeah, it's funny because so much of the time it's like think of skin as just like topical, what can we put on the skin, and so much of it is like coming from inside.
Yeah, for sure.
There's imbalance inside and support needed with the bacteria in our guts, and detoxing from all of the environmental toxins and emotional toxins that we face. It's like we just really need to support ourselves holistically, and then our skin will just show the progress that we make when we do that.
I love that you said emotional detox as well, because I feel like that's kind of what facials are as well. It's topical, as you mentioned, like it's putting beautiful oils and everything on the skin, and it works beautifully, but it's also a moment of peace and just allowing yourself to like let go and relax and not be on your phone and de-stress. And it's kind of like a little bit of an emotional detox. Also, your face holds so many emotions as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. And we do absorb so much topically. Like all of these beautiful products, like my skin is drinking them up.
It really is.
Yeah, and it's, like you said, like our emotions and what we're going through is like held so tightly in our faces. And it's nice just to like receive and just be taken care of.
Yeah, that is so true. I feel like especially as women, we're taught to like give. And it's so nice just to have that moment, like you said, just to be taken care of and have a moment of like restorative time and just be able to get like nourished and pampered.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
I also feel that way like when I'm like drinking herbs as well. Like I don't like, for example, I don't drink coffee anymore, but I would just like down coffee and I wouldn't really take a moment and be like, oh, this is nice. Whereas I feel like with like herbs, it really kind of brings you into a grounding moment of like what's this doing for me, and you really like can, like when you're drinking it, you really feel like really grounded and like it's doing something for you.
Yeah, you can really notice the effects of it in a different way rather than like a caffeine kick where you're like,
Exactly.
oh shit. But yeah, it's just like such a calming, beautiful, like receiving of the nourishment. And it's just like such a slow practice. Like usually just I guess intuitively when we drink tea, it's like we're not downing it like we do a coffee because we're like ready for that kick, but it's just like this slow sipping of a tea. It's interesting too with tea, like there's so many beautiful blends and I love formulating teas, but when you just work with one plant and have like just an infusion with like one single plant and note like hawthorn, and you just like notice how that feels, and every day just sit with that and drink your hawthorn tea or whatever tea or plant calls to you, and then you just sort of build that relationship and you learn so much about that one plant when you drink tea that way, and I'm starting to do that. And it's really kind of like a special practice.
You get to know each herb for what they are instead of like a combination.
Yeah.
I like that. Speaking of tea blends, anyone who's been here, who's following along till kind of near the end, we are currently working on a skin tea blend. I wasn't actually going to bring this up, but do you want to talk a little bit about the one that we're currently formulating?
Yes, and I was conscious not to like give away our secret formula when we were talking about it, but it is a really delightful blend. It's just a really nourishing, nurturing, sweet, lovely blend, calming blend that's and beautiful. It's gonna look so beautiful as well. Do you want me to spill the tea?
No.
Okay.
Spill the tea. I love that. Yeah, I mean, maybe let's just give like a herb that's in there instead of like the whole shebang.
Okay, well, I mean, I've talked a lot about yarrow, and yarrow is featured in our tea.
Yes. And what does yarrow do for the skin? We are making like a skin blend, like a skin tea. So that's what we're currently working on, and something else, but I won't mention that one.
Yeah, yarrow is just a really gentle, lovely plant. Any wounds, imbalances inside, any sort of inflammation that needs calming and repair, yarrow is just an amazing restorative and repairing herb. And she just offers like this really gentle, like caring essence. So yeah, I really, really love yarrow. And she's just like an incredible skin healer and wound healer.
I'm so excited. And we've been through a little bit of samples and they all taste so beautiful, and so I'm just excited to get it like perfected and just like work through it, and I'm just so excited for it to come to fruition because it's going to be such a beautiful grounding, I don't want to say supplement, but practice, I would say, like to throw into your skincare practice that you already have. Just a beautiful, nourishing, healing tea that's just going to be great for your skin, and it's just going to allow you a moment to sit and slow down, and yeah, I'm really excited. So Krystina and I actually first met at a retreat when she was hosting a beautiful, what would you call it? Like a women's...
It was a funky goddess feast.
Yeah, there we go. The goddess feast. And it was so delicious. Everything that she makes is honestly out of this world. So beautiful and delicious. You're so talented.
Thank you.
And then we hosted a workshop together as well. It was a bone broth circle with some facial cupping, which was really, really beautiful. And yeah, everyone just loved the bone broth. Definitely the best bone broth I've ever had. But for those who didn't attend, do you mind telling us the benefits of bone broth and then also the benefits for it for the skin as well?
Yeah, bone broth is one of the most traditional healing foods. It's a resilience food. It's resourceful in so many ways, and no matter where one's ancestry is from, there has most likely been a history of drinking broth and making broth. So I love bone broth. It is one of the most healing, mineral-rich, beautiful, delicious things. I replaced coffee with bone broth. I drink it on the cooler days. I drink it in the mornings, and yeah, it's incredible. It's a really gelatinous bone broth. Helps build collagen in the skin and just offers so many incredible amino acids and protein, and you can just infuse it with anything that you have on hand. So I will often put roots in my bone broth and medicinal mushrooms and whatever herbs I'm working with in the moment. Lots of garlic, ginger. Yeah, I love making bone broth. And yeah, like anything that is supportive of the gut and connective tissue and protein and yeah, just incredibly rich nutrients, it will support the skin.
Mm-hmm. We're just finishing off with some really beautiful hydrating anti-inflammatory products here. And while I do that, I would love if you could tell us what you do to incorporate self-care and little moments of stillness within your life.
I could definitely be doing some more of that. Self-care. I mean, making slow, beautiful meals is something that I do prioritize as much as I can. Getting out in the garden, picnics. I love just having a solo picnic in the backyard.
Love
that. I love to do. Sipping broth, sipping tea. I love journaling. That is a practice that I have found a lot of healing with. In this moment, I'm in the process of moving and settling into a new space, and so my self-care has taken a little bit of a break, but as my space becomes mine, it's just the slow moments of just like sitting down and having a meal and sitting down to like give myself a foot massage.
Yes.
And just little things like that. Meditation, morning yoga. These are amazing.
I know, aren't they so good? Aren't they so good?
Oh my god.
I know.
I need these in my life.
I know. Everyone at first is like, oh, cryotherapy. therapy, and then I put them on their face and they're like, oh yes, oh yes. Especially with this heat wave that we're having, feels so good.
It does. They're nice and heavy.
They're very heavy. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I truly appreciate it. I'm always so fascinated about herbalism and just herbs and all of the mushrooms and broths. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This has been such a treat.
Good. I'm so glad your skin is radiating. Just glowing. Amazing, your skin's glowing.
I feel so fresh. I love holding these rocks too.
I know,
Like,
they're
wow.
so nice.
There's
I know.
something about just holding rocks.